Adams's will, in her handwriting, is filed with the family's legal papers. But it was not actually a legal document that any court was bound to respect. Recognizing that hard truth, she did not begin it with the customary language about being of sound mind and body, instead writing, "I, Abigail Adams, wife to the Honorable John Adams of Quincy in the county of Norfolk, by and with his consent, do dispose of the following property." By and with his consent. Although the document did not bear the signature of John Adams, Abigail insisted that she had persuaded her spouse to go along with her challenge to coverture. Over the course of their long lifetimes, John and Abigail Adams had worked together on a host of important projects that have earned them great renown. But this previously unreported collaboration, in which the wife, not the husband, took the leading role, may have been the most extraordinary of all. Today, Abigail Adams lives in the American memory as the most illustrious woman of the founding era. Yet the very existence of her will suggests that perhaps we do not know her quite as well as we think we do. What were the converging forces that prompted the wife of the second president to defy hundreds of years of statutes and legal precedents by writing a will? Given that married women of her era were not supposed to own personal property, how did she manage to acquire so much of it? When John discovered this document among his deceased wife's papers, he would have been well within his rights in throwing it in the fire. And that raises an additional question. What made her so sure he would carry out her wishes? The only way to solve these riddles is to trace two long-term developments. The first is the evolution of Abigail Adams's personality across the span of more than 70 years of revolution, war, and social upheaval. The second is the gradual working out over the course of more than 5 decades of her relationship with her husband. Abigail herself was never able to answer another question posed by her will, namely, did John in fact carry out her instructions? But we can. For generations, Abigail Adams's words, in particular her famous "Remember the Ladies" letter of March 31st, 1776, have inspired women seeking equity in the workplace, before the law, and within their own families. Yet they have always been mere words, and skeptics have emphasized that the only place she ever dared to utter them was in confidential letters to her husband. But the skeptics are wrong. Adams actually shared her views on women's rights with numerous correspondents, male and female, inside and outside her family. She even published a brief critique of one particularly obnoxious misogynist in a Boston newspaper, albeit anonymously. Most important of all, she was not content merely to register her verbal objections to the subjugation of women. She turned her own household into a laboratory where she imagined what the emancipation of women might look like. In the fall of 1781, about the time of the British surrender at Yorktown, she had made the first of her own declarations of independence. She took some of the money she had earned as a wartime dealer in European finery — therein lies another tale to be told in due course — and placed it in the hands of a friend whose identity she conspicuously withheld from her husband. Later, she invested this money, which I call mine, in ways that John considered unsavory. For instance, she speculated in government securities that Revolutionary War soldiers had been forced to part with for pennies on the dollar. Moreover, she sometimes devoted her mercantile and speculative profits to causes of which her husband did not approve, justifying the expenditures as coming out of what she variously called my own pocket money or my pin money. Adams' determination to enact some of her proto-feminist ideals within her own household, to act as though the doctrine of coverture lost its force at her front door, is only one of the many surprises concealed within the pages of this woman's extraordinary life history. Given the sheer number